Hello and welcome to Cinco de Mayo. We are coming to you for our latest edition of Motivational Moments featuring Michael Copperwhite, who is a motivational speaker that really knows how to bring it home and give you the best tips for how to navigate life. And today is going to be no different. Today, Michael is going to be talking about self-care while you're working from home, because he knows that a lot of you are new at this and you may or may not have realized that being kind to yourself is a big part of working from home. So with that, I bring you Michael Copperwhite.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate that. It's funny you said I always bring it home, and here we all are at home, and have been so for quite some time. I was thinking as I was putting this together, and what I have for you is five steps, 5 easy steps, 5 steps towards how to do this. My first job out of college, like when I got dressed and like went to work in an office, was in the mid '80s, and there was nobody working from home. It didn't exist. And I forget when it started to exist, but I can remember hearing about it. And I'm not sure if I knew somebody who was or hearing about it, but it was so new, it was weird. And it kind of grew pretty quickly. And then terms like telecommuting came about and people working from home. And today there are millions of people working from home all the time. There are complete corporations that have no leased real estate because everybody works from home, and it's become quite the trend. It occurred to me as I was putting this together and doing some reading this week that there are millions of us, hopefully some of you watching this, who have never worked from home, who are now doing it for the first time. And that's kind of who this is for, because there are some tricks and some strategies. And most of you who are working from home for the very first time have friends who have worked from home forever. And maybe you've had some of these conversations. My daughter is one of these people who is now for 3 weeks now working from home for the first time ever. And so many of the conversations I'm having with her mimic the points I have for you today. It's fascinating. I just thought, God, I talked to Jenna about this. We had this conversation around this. So this is designed for you people working from home, how to have some self-care as we're working from home for the first time. And there obviously is going to be some sort of end in sight to this whole thing, but the 5 steps are simple. The first one is to establish a routine. Routines are incredibly important for any kind of normalcy throughout this completely abnormal time. I kind of chuckle when I try to use the word normal anymore. I didn't like the word normal before this. I just always like to kind of question what it meant, and everyone has their own definition, but now it's ridiculous. But routines are a really, really important part of, let's say, maintaining sanity, not so much normalcy through this, but it'll really help with what you're trying to get done on a day-to-day thing. So routines in terms of what time are you waking up, and what time are you going to bed? And the more you can routine those 2 things, the better. I've had several conversations in the past few days with friends who are very unremarkably staying up later than they ever have and sleeping later than they ever have, just because it's easy to do that right now. And Netflix, and I heard that Showtime and HBO are free for some time. I don't know if these are true or not, but there's a lot of streaming and binging and TV watching going on, which can be terrific, quite frankly. But waking up at a certain time and going to bed and keeping that as part of a routine, really important. This next one's interesting. I was really feeling good about myself for a few weeks of this, and it's not always happening. But basically, my note to myself says to get dressed for your day, get dressed for work. You know, for me, it was about just, I don't feel great about myself. I'm not empowering myself if I'm just in sweats and unshowered all day. So get up and shower and shave and get dressed, or whatever you do for your routine to go to work, do those things. Now, I joked that I was doing really well and feeling good about myself for a couple of weeks. There have certainly been days where it's been sweats all day, and it's fine, you know, but I think as part of a routine, certainly on a Monday to Friday routine, and then take the weekend off. That's, again, part of a built-in routine. Scheduling is a little bit different than a routine, but scheduling is an important part. Scheduling work. When do we do this? You know, exercise, scheduling exercise. So if you were an exerciser before this and you find yourself not now, I bet it's because you haven't scheduled a time to say, this is the time I'm doing this. We've talked about this, a few months ago, we did one of these around yoga came up on our conversation. And I've always been a person that needs to leave the house to go to a place, whether it's a gym or a yoga studio, something where someone else is having an event or a class that I have to go to. It works for me. It works for millions of us. And now we're not doing that. And so there's all these online classes for any kind of exercise you're looking for, but schedule it and do it. And it's weird to do it on a mat on your dining room floor, but scheduling them is huge. Exercise, schedule meals, try to do those around the same times in terms of a routine. Personal time is, I have kind of personal time / rest. Like, are you scheduling time to rest? And I'm not really talking about going to bed necessarily, but do we have downtimes during our work day that just worked for us? And it's important you're doing that. And then personal time. What are you passionate about in your social / personal / leisure time? All we're really able to do is stay in and go out a little, and that's really about it. So what can you work into that supports that part of your life? Where is your personal time and your leisure time? What these will do under this routine idea is create some sort of stability, which is a really important word as you're going through this. So number 2, take breaks. Really important. We have scheduled in the corporate world at work. There are scheduled breaks that are required because it's important to our mindset. So it's just as important when you are doing this from home. So schedule them. I have friends who set their alarms on their phones and say, oh, it's time. They schedule alarms on their phones for everything, but certainly one for taking a break. Get outside. We're really fortunate in the Northeast, and I know you're watching this from all over the country, but right now in the Northeast, we're having some spring weather. It's May, it's beautiful. So it's a great time to be getting outside. If you can, get outside and even stretch. If you've never even stretched before, start to just stretch. Stand up and put your hands as high as you can, get in your tiptoes and just get one of those early morning stretches like you're just waking up, and just get your body alive. I think it's true that most of us, for the most part, no matter, we just don't drink enough water. None of us do. And they say we're supposed to drink an ounce for every pound we weigh. That's a lot of water, people. And we're nowhere coming near that home. So go out of your way to force yourself to be drinking water. Play with a pet, do whatever you can to kind of schedule a break and get away. Don't schedule a break and sit in front of your computer and say, when can I get back to work? Go do something really important. I was remembering, as a kid, my mom had this, I guess it was just called a pressure cooker. And there was this little valve on the top that would kind of bubble around and move and make noise, because there was so much pressure going on in this pressure cooker with whatever was happening at the time. And it would shake and make all this noise, but it was a pressure relief valve. And the importance of relieving that pressure so the thing doesn't explode and take out the kitchen. Same is true for scheduling your breaks. It's a pressure relief system for you, not that we're going to explode, but to kind of relieve the everyday pressures. And I think maybe sometimes we underestimate the amount of pressure that we're actually going through in terms of working from home and doing this. So taking breaks, number 2. Number 3 is to set some boundaries. Figure out what these mean for you, make these boundaries, and then maintain them. So again, we're talking to people who are working from home for the first time. So what time are you starting your workday, and what time are you ending your workday? And make sure that you don't start too soon or go late. There are exceptions. There's overtime situations where things have to get handled with phone calls, but what time are you starting your workday? What time are you going to end it? And to that front, I'm one of these people. So you might have a work computer as well as your home computer, and you might have a work smartphone, a work phone in addition to your own phone. So when your day is starting, turn on your work computer and your work phone, and when it's over, turn them off and turn off your notifications. I'm not saying turn off your own phone. I get that we basically live on these, but if you have a separate work phone, turn it off. Those are boundaries that are important to you. Many of us are dealing, I say us, I'm not one of you, but many of us are dealing with kids home from school, and you're trying to work, and God bless you, I can't even imagine. So I consider myself a little fortunate on that front, but make sure you're communicating to your family what your work schedule is and when it's okay for you to be interrupted. Or not. And there's times you can't, and put signs on doors. If you actually have a home office, you can go to close a door and put a time thing on it. Perfect. But make sure that you're explaining to your family and kids what work schedule is for you and when you're able to be interrupted. And there was one that really challenged me. The last one of these boundaries is to have some sort of digital free or screen free day. And I thought, wow, a screen-free day at this point is like, that's big, So maybe it's too big for you to get your mind around, as it was for me when I first thought about it, like a day with no screen at all, no computer, no TV, just downtime, which would be incredibly healthy. I was just like, wow. So maybe if that's too big for you, like it was when I first heard about it, schedule some sort of screen-free chunk of time. That's a little bit of a stretch for you to kind of just do that. Boundaries, really, really important. Number 4, eating. Eat well. There are all sorts of stories through all social media and Facebook and the memes and the jokes. And I get that we deal with a lot of stress through humor, and some of it is some of the funniest stuff I've seen. But there's all sorts of them around eating and overeating and all the sorts of stuff. So again, I got water in here again as another note. Water is so important for everything, but also it'll help you stay full. This entire concept of all this eating well under this section is all about trying to reduce our stress-related eating. So water's huge. Setting meal times. It kind of goes back a little bit to the routine idea, but if you have meal times set, it'll help. And set meal choices, and perhaps, and I have friends who do this who have never worked from home until now, who have always taken a weekend day, whether it was a Saturday or Sunday, and kind of meal prepped for the whole week, just cooked all day and meal prepped for the week. The more you can meal prep now and schedule meal times, it's a great way to reduce that stress-related eating. I heard a podcast this week. I was walking actually and listening to this. It was the first time on this podcast. And I never heard this before, but it was a reference to food. And the guy said, think about food. Food's it's 2 things in your life. It's either you're eating it for nutrition or you're eating it for entertainment. And I never heard this before. And he said, it's either one or the other. You're going to eat your food for nutrition or you're eating it for entertainment. And just be aware of what it is you're eating and whether it's nutrition or whether it's entertainment. He said, for example, when you go out to a restaurant, which again, none of us are doing, but I hope you're taking that from your local places and trying to maintain and help small business. We've done a lot of that. If you go to a restaurant or do takeout from a restaurant, that's entertainment food. That's not necessarily nutrition food for the sake of nutrition. And just be aware of when you're eating that meal. Is this nutrition or is this entertainment? And when you find yourself saying, wow, the past 4 meals in a row have all been entertainment meals, then have a nutrition one. And for me, it was just like so simple. I love simplicity because my mind doesn't do simple normally. On its default is definitely not simple. It's overthinking everything. It was so simple that I thought, wow, I can really get my mind around this and hang on to this one. So I wanted to share that with you. Think about the meals you're having. Is it nutrition or is it entertainment? And they're both fine. They're both good. I'm not saying that entertainment is not something you should do. Just be aware of it. And if there's 4 meals in a row that have been, shift it up. I thought it was helpful to me. I hope it was for you. This whole concept is designed to kind of reduce that stress-related eating that we're all going through. Finally, step number 5, go easy on yourself. Carol titled this talk today like self-care while working from home. And I, for some reason in my life, with conversation with friends, with podcasts I'm listening to, with things I'm reading, the term self-compassion just keeps coming up. And I've been having conversations with people about how to be compassionate to ourselves. Most of us are wonderfully compassionate people. And I would imagine if you're going out of your way and intentionally watching something like this to empower yourselves and to learn, you're probably a wonderfully compassionate person. We have so little challenge being compassionate to other people. What is it like for you to be compassionate to yourself? And can you do it? And what does it look like? And I would love you to spend some time here. I'm spending a lot of time here trying to understand this. I'm talking to some friends, some very dear people in my life about their experience. And I kind of look up to them and say, you've got this mastered. Can you help me with what you've done? So think about what self-compassion, self-care, it's a little different than self-compare. For me, it is anything for self-care, but what does it look like for you? And what are you doing for it? What does it mean to do? And then do it. That's the point. Do it. Give yourself some slack. It's okay not to be as productive as you thought you were before all this went down. And so speaking to that before this whole thing went down, please keep in mind that there's an end to this. You know, my last note says, stay strong and keep the faith. There is an end in sight. There's lots of conversation that states are starting to open back up. People are watching this from everywhere. So pay attention to your state and their guidelines and your governor and what those plans are, and abide by them. And quite frankly, for me, if there's going to be an error, I would rather err on the side of caution. That's me, but pay attention to what's going on in your states as things get dictated there. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. And this, we will get behind this and we will look back on this. And wow, we'll have some stories. But hopefully one of your stories will be how you were able to work from home and you did it well. Because I know you can. I hope that some of this information for you has helped a little bit. And again, Carol, to you, always thank you again for the opportunity to chat. Appreciate you.
Well done, Michael. Once again, well done.
Thank you.
And yeah, self-care, self-compassion, both
Big one.
need to be taken well advantage of at this point. So be
Big one,
kind
yeah.
to yourself and have an incredible day.
Yeah.
Thank you.